You know what I wanted to talk about today?
What?
Okay. So one of the questions I had over the last little while is about the procedural bylaw, right? Okay, so for the intimate partner violence, they wouldn't allow that group to speak to counsel because the procedural bylaw says that if it's not something in counsel's purview, they can't make a presentation, right? It was a little bit of a sticky point back in November. Anyways.
That seems strange, but go on.
But when they wanted, when Peter didn't want the gentleman Bill Antler, to make his presentation, he had the procedural bylaw nixed so that they could have the special meeting so they could approve the RFP before the meeting where he's making the presentation. Right? Okay. Then the night of that presentation, the procedural bylaw was voted down so that Tanya Vraybosch could sort of retract her comments that pissed off the subdivision guys up on the hill, because she said something about the covenant being not fair in a previous meeting. So they took down the procedural bylaw again. So then Jamie Lowry said, well, while we're at it, why don't we, while the procedural bylaw is down, allow Bill Antler to speak for 10 minutes instead of 5. And they said, no way. So it's very convenient and very interesting that procedural bylaws can be struck down whenever they kind of want to do something, but not when someone else wants to do something.
So who has the superpower on whether
the council votes on it?
So it would be the whole council has to vote on it. So they can vote down the procedural bylaw, then have at her, and then also say, no, we're not going to add it in at this time.
Not for you. No soup for you.
No soup for you. Yeah, the soup Nazi.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
So I'm keeping track of how many times they do the procedural bylaw trick and don't do it for other groups.
What was the I'll say trick? I'm using air quotes here, but wasn't it about a year or so ago? There was something happened, I think, more than a year ago, a couple of years ago, because it was when they were during the COVID time, they were online, and Mark King had a vote, and he was going to push something to back, and then all the council voted around him. Like, it seemed like it's almost the point I'm getting at is that it feels like you have to know how the game's played, and you have to know how the game can be manipulated as well.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like, I remember Mike Monahan saying to me a long time ago about, you need to understand the rules of golf, because actually understanding the rules of golf, you know how to manipulate the rules.
You can't cheat unless you know the rules.
You can't cheat unless you know the rules. But it's not cheating. It's using the rules to your advantage. Yeah, right? Yeah. And that's exactly what they're doing.
So you can't take advantage of the rules unless you know them, right?
You have to know the rules really well, which is very much like a lawyer, right? Yeah. Great lawyers understand the rules really well and how to use them to their advantage. So I think that's what's happening with this council now. Do you ever remember a council using procedural bylaw like this?
Oh, yeah. All of them have.
Oh, they all have. Okay.
There's always somebody on council that knows the rules a little bit better than others. Mm-hmm. And like Vic was pretty good with knowing the procedural rules.
I bet. Al must have used it when Don Rennick was getting under his skin.
Yeah, he did.
He must have used it about, speaking and...
Yeah, they muscled up the procedural rules because of guys like Don Rennick, yeah.
And how does the procedural bylaw rules come into play during this whole budget negotiation? Or do they?
I don't know. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it will if they want them to. It depends.
I noticed the firefighters only had less than 3% they were coming forward with.
Oh yeah, I didn't read that part. No.
Well, you got to do your homework when you do this show, Dave.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You need to come prepared to the show. I'm saying that only because I wasn't prepared today.